Hi, this is Dominic Keating. I played Lieutenant Malcolm Reed on Enterprise, as you probably know, and you are listening to the NX 7062 podcast. Enjoy.
And welcome to the NX 7062 podcast. I always want to say it after I listen to Dominic do that. I always want to put a little British flair because I love the way he says podcast. And they have their own podcast now in the pod, the Shuttle Pod, and we are going to talk about Shuttle Pod Show in a little bit because we all know this is the NX 7062 after party, or the NX 7062 podcast. I'm your host, Stephanie K, and this is the Shuttle Pod Show after party, the seventh rule after party. Everybody just comes here to keep the parties going every Monday night right here on my little YouTube channel. So we are going to get right into it because I have a very special guest coming up, but you know me, we've got to talk about Picard first. We got to talk about Shuttle Pod Show. And then we're going to get into Strange New Worlds. And if I tell you that I had to spend all day Thursday and most of Friday like fast scrolling through Facebook because I was trying to avoid as many spoilers as I could, I think I did pretty good. I didn't get a chance to watch anything on Thursday. I was busy. I didn't get a chance to watch anything on Thursday night. So, hey, Faith, happy Monday. I didn't get to watch anything Thursday. So, hi, Reed. Looks like Reed came to visit. And we all know he's too big. I can't pick him up. Hi, Magic Lasso. Yeah, but you might hear him because he's on the floor complaining. So we had to wait. I had to wait until Friday to watch everything, but it all worked out. Nothing was really spoiled. So let's get right into talking about Picard, to which I'm going to say the season finale was meh. I mean, Rio, we all thought Rio was probably going to go back. There was a possibility he was going to go back, and then he didn't go back. He decided to stay. I have this horrible feeling that this cat is about to knock down my green screen. Reed, I love you, buddy. I do, but can we not knock down Mommy's green screen while she's like live here, pup? Now he's fighting with me over it. All right, we're just gonna hope that nothing else major happens. Okay, so Rios stayed behind, and he absolutely 100% stayed behind. Like that was completely finalized in that final scene. Let's see what else. Did they really kill Q? I'm kind of. It's like Picard. I feel like Picard really just feels like killing off favorite characters. Like that's going to be their thing. Like who's going to die next season? Hey, Robert, thanks so much for joining us. Seriously, who's going to die next season? We lost Data, then we lost Q. I hope not. I hope something happened in the Continuum. I hope the Continuum, popped in on the last minute, which is really funny because this morning I watched Matt Smith's final episode of Doctor Who, where Reed, stop. Where the Q Continuum, where the Time Lords decided that they were gonna save him, so save the Doctor and help him out and give him some more regenerations. So. Yeah, it might leave a little energy, but then he brought back Elnor. Remember? It would leave a little energy if Rio stayed behind, but then he decided for a gift he'd bring back Elnor. So we'll see. I want him to come back. I'm not holding out a lot of hope. What was that quote from Spider-Man No Way Home? If you expect disappointment, then you can never be disappointed. I rewatched that last night. This can be the new Trip. You didn't kill off Q. Didn't kill off Trip. Didn't kill off Q. Let's see. The other thing that I'm going to have a problem with, that I kind of had a problem with, and I'm interested to see how they're going to explain this, because it got very wibbly wobbly, timey wimey. Because Agnes did not go back to the future. We all figured out Agnes is the Borg Queen. Just went to the Delta Quadrant 500 years earlier. Well, then doesn't that make 7 of 9 a paradox? What happened to the XBs and Hugh and all of that? Like that's all rewritten now? But 7 of 9 is still, I mean, we know she got Borged in the past, so that explains why she still has her Borg implants in the future. But if they rewrote the future of the Borg, And then there's this whole thing, Martha's last episodes of Doctor Who, I didn't like Martha, but they did this 3-episode thing with the Master where there was a whole year that ended up getting erased. And nobody remembered it except for the people that were in the middle of the eye of the storm. So that's kind of where you've got to figure the Picard people are. Seven, Rafi, Picard himself, Eleanor. They were on the eye of the storm, but what about, and Agnes obviously has memories because she, waited for them for 400 years. So it's just going to be really, really interesting. I have a feeling that next season, that's the thing, next season is going to be a big cast reunion. All the TNG people are coming back. But how much of next season are they going to spend explaining what happened? Because it just feels like there's a lot of holes. And then this whole thing that that Girardi's now guarding, is that going to be part of next season? Are they going to mention it? I don't know. Have no idea what's going to be going on with that. So there's just a lot of stuff. There's a lot of stuff that I wasn't real thrilled about, and I think it's just going to be a lot for them to cover in next season. That's my thought, and I'm not sure. I feel like next season should just be next season. Like, I don't know how much of season 2 I want to show up in season 3. What are my other notes? The one thing I did like that Sung had that con folder, which in a way kind of ties in with, okay, then you can go, well, Arik Soon from Enterprise was very interested in reviving the augments and all that stuff. And that kind of, it fits, except for the one thing. And I know you can write this off, but we all know what an Enterprise geek I am. So in those episodes, at one point, one of Sung's kids, quote unquote, turns around and says, what about the Botany Bay? And Sung says, that's just fantasy, that never happened. And you would think if his ancestor is the one that started the eugenics war, he'd be a little more in tune with what happened to Khan, if one of his ancestors is actually the one that started the whole eugenics thing, and his work eventually produced Khan. You would think he wouldn't have just written off the Botany Bay as fiction so quickly. But still love the tie-in. Still absolutely love the tie-in. And I love seeing Wesley. That was so great. That little cameo with him and Issa, where he takes her away to be a traveler. That was so sweet. And it's so nice to know that is still what he's doing. I think that, a lot of people were wondering whatever happened to Wesley and if he's still doing the traveler thing, and obviously he is. So I love that. I love that little cameo. All right. So moving on to the Shuttle Pod show. This week's guest, yes, Wesley. Yay, Wesley. And I have to admit, I've always said I like Will Wheaton better than I just following him on social media. I've always been very fond of Will Wheaton and his sense of humor about himself and all the times he was in The Big Bang Theory. I was never a Wesley Crusher fan, but I loved this little cameo. It was so perfect. Was it just me in that cameo? I feel like I think I've seen rumblings on social media that people would love to see Issa and Wesley spin off into a cameo of the Traveler just bopping around the universe. Absolutely. I'm not going to spend too long on the Shuttle Pod show. Surprise. It was a shorter show this week for whatever reason. I don't know if that had part to do with their audio drama, because definitely agree. I would watch that. I would totally watch that because I love Issa. And like I said, I would like to see a mature Wesley. Like I said, he kind of dumped the Wesley thing. So Rick Berman was on this week's episode of the Shuttle Pod show. They didn't drop it at their normal time because it had audio issues. So I don't know if that had anything to do with the fact that it was a shorter show. This is just part 1. They went to Rick's house, which I thought was awesome because they took, I have these. I think it's so cool that we both have these. They took these guys with them. They were on Rick's table, plus their little stuffed Porthos. Wash, the avocado tree, was on vacation, so he didn't go with them. So I love that. I love the fact that they went to Rick and did this very casual thing. And And Rick just sat down. I mean, there weren't a lot of questions. He just basically sat down. Dominic said, so how'd you get involved in Star Trek? And I mean, that story went back so many years. Rick talked about how he got brought on to Paramount, how he met Gene, how he ended up kind of getting spirited away from one side of the street to the other to work specifically on Star Trek, how he had never worked on Star Trek before. So that was, you know, but in this story, you realize that sometimes it really is just the smallest things. Hey, War Dog! Thanks for joining us. Always good to see you. But from Rick's story, it really is just the tiniest things. Like, you never know what little incident in your life would be the turning point, or what would lead you down a new path. The smallest of things. I don't want to spoil it, but you guys need to watch it. I know Rick has a very controversial past. He has said some things and done some. I don't want to get into it because I don't know like 100%, so I'm not going to sit down and have like this entire conversation. Oh, well, you go tell those seventh rule people that, you know, the rest of us all know how to start on time. But it's a really interesting story. The other thing, and I will say this, Rick takes responsibility for These Are the Voyages. Well, that's always a good thing. That is always a good thing, War Dog, being able to divide. And I appreciate that you are dividing your attention and that you did come here while you're finishing up there. Rick takes responsibility for These Are the Voyages. That it was his idea. And he explained why they did it. Like, something that I don't think Connor and Dominic had ever heard in either, about why why they wrote it, why they did what they did. And it makes sense when you listen to the explanation. It makes sense why they did it. That does not make me dislike that episode any less at all. But at least now there's a certain logic behind it where I can say, okay, if this is the best way that you thought you could handle the situation and this is what you wanted to do, I get it. I'm not happy with the end result, but at least now I understand why you did what you did. So I'm not sure I really like the ending, the way they did that ending. And also, this is the other thing I'm really curious about. We are still waiting on part 2 of that Dominic Keating thing. So there's supposed to be a part 2 of the Rick Berman interview too. Plus, they've got Brandon Braga, who they interviewed this week. So who knows what's going to drop on Sunday. You all know I love the show. I love those guys to bits and pieces. They are some of my favorite Trek people. I think you guys all know that by now. But there are just certain things about the show that I'm just curious why they do things that they do. Like, why wasn't the Dominic thing part 1 and 2 back to back? Because now it's like kind of like, all right, well, so eventually we'll get back to it, but now I've forgotten half the stuff that he said in the first one. The other thing I'm having problems with, and I don't think this is them per se, but those ads are killing me because they just come in inappropriately. Like, and I know that they don't technically have control over it. I looked this up. If you're monetizing your YouTube page, well, that's good. That's good. That's what I'm here for, to amp everybody up. But I researched this because obviously everybody wants to get their YouTube channel up to monetization, up to a monetization point. So you have a couple choices. Once you hit their threshold so that you can actually monetize and choose how you want your ads to be, you can do ads at the beginning and the end. Or you can tell YouTube, yeah, you can put some ads in the middle. But YouTube reserves the right to drop them anywhere. And basically, supposedly, the algorithm is supposed to look for pauses. But I guess if you don't pause enough, then they shoehorn everything in there. So it's just, I wish that there was a way that they could figure out how to do the ads better, because sometimes they literally end up in the middle of somebody's sentence or halfway through the answer to a question, and it's really annoying. But none of that is going to keep me from watching it, because we all know that I love watching my Shuttlepod show. So that is it for Picard and the Shuttlepod show. So we are about to get to the main event. I see my guest is all ready and set to come say hello. So who's ready to talk about Strange New Worlds with Chris Hunter? Because here he comes.
Hi.
Hey, Chris.
How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm great.
Thank you so much.
Nice to be here. It's nice to be anywhere, but it's really nice to be here. So.
Oh, well, thanks so much for joining us, for talking about Strange New Worlds.
Yes, sir, certainly.
I mean, who else are you going to talk about Strange New Worlds with besides the world's first Trekkie?
That's right.
Right?
That's right. Hey, you want to know what I've heard? The original Strange New Worlds, The Cage, October 1964.
Right.
It's been
that's
that
when
long.
That's when your dad got the script, right?
Yeah, it was sitting in the car seat. And I said, Dad, what's this? And he said, well, this is a new show called Star Trek. And I said, what's that? And he said, well, Chris, I'm the captain of a ship, a starship that has 200 people on it. And I go, really? And he said, yeah. And I said, oh, my God, this is going to be amazing. And that's when I became a Trekker. So that's why I'm the first Trekker.
Right there. And Robert says hello, and he enjoyed Strange Worlds. I think we all did. I enjoyed it.
Robert.
I enjoyed it more than the Picard finale.
Yeah, well, I love Strange New Worlds. I just want everybody to know that. Let me just tell you something. What CBS did was sent me down to Comic-Con to talk to Anson, and I took Anson aside. And I said, you know, Anson, you're great. And Dad would be really happy with your performance. And I'm right behind you. Dad and I are right behind you. And so I gave him a pep talk. And he still talks about it. He really touched him. He made me stand up in front of 6,000 people, you know, Steph. And they put the spotlight, and I was going, holy Jesus, I almost peed in my pants.
This was before they introduced him on Discovery.
Right, yeah.
And obviously the world agreed with you, because it was a lot of fan rattling that got Strange New Worlds made. So obviously.
No, go ahead. No, I was just going to say, I've got to tell you a secret here. He reminds me a little bit too much of Dad. Yeah, I got some real twinges watching this.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I really got emotional on it. Yeah.
The one thing I thought, War Dog thinks that's really cool. The one thing that I really loved, I mean, there were so many things I loved about Strange New Worlds, but I loved that Captain Pike is a horseman, because that's right out of the cage.
That's Tango. That's right.
That's right out of the cage.
Tango, and he says, Tango, I'm sorry. And then Telosians put sugar in his hand, you know. So, he was sure a horseman. Sure. Dad could ride, too.
He did a lot of Westerns.
Right. He did a lot of Westerns. My dad did a lot of Westerns, but Anson did, you know, Hell on Wheels. So.
Okay. You know, so they're look at that. They have that in common as well. I guess my two absolute favorite things about the show were they introduced T'Pring, and Amok Time is my absolute favorite episode of the original Star Trek. And I did the math in my head, and if Strange New Worlds is Pike's 5-year mission, and Amok Time is the season opener for season 2, then it stands to reason that they were pung-farring, and that's why T'Pring and Spock were together, because he didn't hit it again until 7 years later, which fits right into Trek, which fit right into the second season.
Wasn't it interesting, too? I'm sorry, but wasn't it interesting the way they talk to each other? That whole Curie thing? I mean, I never heard that before, you know.
I thought that was really interesting. But yeah, for anybody that's thinking Vulcans are having sex outside of Pung-Far, do the math. This was the Pung-Far before Amok Time, because the timeline when I did the math, it lines up, and the fact that she asked him to marry her, I thought that was awesome. I love that Rebecca Romaine was on the USS Archer when she got kidnapped, because obviously, or not kidnapped, imprisoned, because obviously that's right back to Enterprise. But I think the main thing that I like is that they started it off with Captain Pike still having these issues that he picked up in Discovery. Like they're not glossing it over.
Rigel. He's talking about Rigel. What happened to his crew on Rigel? That was the whole thing. They were all slaughtered, you know. And Pike's a person, you got to understand, he's a very, very serious captain, but he's a very caring captain. He's a captain who cares more about his crew than he does himself. He's just the opposite of Lorca. Remember how Lorca killed his crew?
Right.
You know what I mean? But Pike loves his crew. And when Dad had that whole scene when he says, I'm tired of being a captain. I have to decide who lives and who dies.
Right.
He just couldn't stand that. He couldn't stand.
Right.
And he wanted to be a Green Orion slave trader for a second, And so,
right.
And
I like the fact that they didn't gloss over what happened with Discovery. That they talked about the fact that we know something that nobody else is allowed to know about.
Right. Exactly.
And they're all still dealing with that. And I like how that's where they decided to pick the story up and not further in the future, where it's like, oh yeah, that happened, but we're over it. I want to see that. I want to see those inner conflicts. The fact that Pike knows what's going to happen to him.
He does. Not only that, he experienced the accident.
Right.
I was very emotional when I saw them do the accident. I've been waiting 50 years to see that thing. How did he get in that wheelchair? And you show it, and he was burned. His radiation burns everywhere. And what he says is, look, I did not only saw it, I felt it, man.
I felt it. Yeah.
Can you imagine? I felt that, and he knows how he is going to wind up in that wheelchair. He knows how he's going to die, and it just it was very emotional to me. Yeah.
Yeah, no, and it's going to be a very interesting season and how he deals with that. See, here's the thing, Faith. I love to pring. I loved that episode. Parted from me and never parted, never and always touching and touched, is some of my favorite lines of all of television. I'm glad that you watched it and that she won you over. Episodic Adventures with Aliens of the Week with Zero. Yes, exactly. And I think that they've realized that people. So your point, War Dog. I think television has realized it can't just be bang bang shoot 'em up episodic television. We want to see that character growth, and they've already started to introduce that. La'an Noonien Singh. She obviously has had trauma in her life. She's the security officer.
I think she's so interesting.
She's really interesting. It's very Tasha Yar.
Right.
From TNG. Tasha had those too, but Tasha didn't talk about it. I think Tasha's like, oh yeah, the rape gangs. Like it was very glossed over. Like you knew Tasha had trauma, but they never delved into it. So I think they're going to do way more with La'an. And again, with more character development.
I think isn't she kind of psychic a little way? She knows when to call red alert and all this kind of stuff.
I think that just might be good training.
Okay.
I think that just might be being a good security officer.
Yeah.
Okay. Of course, we've gotten back into the fun colors. Like nothing's dark. Everything's all these bright primary colors, which is definitely a tribute to the original series.
Yeah.
Which obviously, back then they were playing for color televisions. Now
that's right.
You're playing
why? RCA owned CBS, and RCA told them to do that. If you look at the original Pike Bridge, it's very military looking. It's a really good bridge. And then they added, as what Gabe Carter calls a Jolly Rancher buttons,
Oh, right.
You know what I'm saying?
Right. Well, you know what? And it's back in vogue with high definition and 4K. Those primary colors. I mean, I remember when I got Enterprise. See, I'm always going to be able to bring it back to Enterprise. When I got my Enterprise Blu-rays, the first episode of Enterprise that I watched on Blu-ray was Inner Mirror Darkly. And at one point, they end up on the Defiant, and they're all in those bright original TOS colors, and they're all wearing TOS uniforms. And it was the perfect Enterprise episode to watch for the first time, to watch as my inaugural Blu-ray episode, because those colors just flew off the screen.
How'd you like the fact they added Admiral April in there?
It's so funny. I watched the animated series episode with him. Yeah. Just to kind of
He looked a little different.
He looked a little different. He definitely. I think that's great. I think especially because it always seems like when a captain has these crises of consciousness and these issues, you always tend to go to your mentor.
Right.
So I think the fact that April's the one that came down and convinced him that he needed to get back into that captain's chair.
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
That makes, and look at it this way, Pike in the J.J. Abrams movies was actually Kirk's mentor. So
yes, well, he's supposed to be, I think.
right,
I
yeah.
mean, and everywhere. I think that well, they, what do you think about the fact they brought out a guy named Sam Kirk? Who's Sam Kirk?
Everybody was expecting James, but it's his brother. But we know his brother was in Starfleet because his brother died in that episode. Oh God, what the hell's the name? See, I suck at titles. Oh my God, everybody out there who watches TOS knows the episode I'm talking about with those squishy-looking aliens that attach to you. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And Sam Kirk died, and his wife died, and the only one that survived was Jim's nephew.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and I can't remember the name of the episode, but they had Sam. So Sam was never introduced he was introduced by name only. He was never portrayed in anything. So this is going to be really interesting. I love that he's Kirk. Ta-da! It's Sam. I love that. But okay. So you know what I'm talking about, though, right? Faith watched it, but she can't remember the episode. But yeah, Sam's been around. Obviously, this is definitely Prime Universe stuff, which I like. Obviously, they already mentioned Enterprise once. There's been some talk, some pretty solid rumors going around.
Yeah.
That there's. Thank you, Robert. It's called Annihilation. Thanks,
Robert.
That T'Pol from Enterprise, Jolene Blaylock's character, is a Vulcan. She could conceivably still be alive. And Jolene showed up at the last big Star Trek day. And Jolene,
did she? How'd she? Yeah.
She's been out of it. She's gorgeous, and
really?
She married, yeah, and she married. Oh, Operation Annihilate. All right, Travis. Hey, how are you?
Big points, Travis.
Gold star for Travis.
Gold star.
But yeah, Jolene showed up the last Star Trek day. They had this big concert, and Jolene showed up, and Jolene married well, got out of acting, wasn't really interested, didn't need to do it anymore, and she sort of retired. But she did show up at Star Trek Day, which started a lot of tongues wagging with Strange New Worlds and the fact that T'Pol would be able to return. Technically, Phlox would be able to return because.
But isn't 100 years away from that ship? What I'm saying is, didn't Enterprise?
She was only 66. She was only 66.
That's 100 years though between Enterprise and the Cage, right? Or am I wrong?
You're wrong.
Oh, okay.
Between Enterprise and the Cage.
Enterprise and Modern Star and
TOS. 90 to 100 years, but Vulcans can live to be 200, and she's 66. Her character was only 66 in Enterprise. So 166 is nothing for a Vulcan.
Oh, really? Okay.
Really. Yeah, 166 is nothing for, and it's the same thing for Denobulan. For Dr. Phlox, he could still technically be alive as well. So I
like that doctor a lot. He's great.
Chapel, Nurse Chapel on Strange New Worlds. I think she's going to be a lot of fun.
Yeah,
they've written her very differently. Although there were definitely episodes of the original Star Trek where you saw Christine's lighter side.
Yeah.
So and this is going to be interesting because this is going to be before she has her big crush on Spock. So we'll get to see what she was like before she fell in love with Mr. Spock.
Well, I can't wait for number one to come in, Una. We haven't really seen her yet.
Right? Yeah. No, she's gonna. Rebecca Main did a great job in Discovery.
She's really good at this.
Yeah.
I
have to refer back just because I have to give my boy Magic Lasso a shout out. Rebecca Romaine equals Mystique for those of you that are Marvel X-Men fans. Lasso's actually not a Star Trek fan. He's my friend, and he comes and hangs out.
Goodbye.
No, he hangs out with me every Monday night.
Security.
He hangs out every Monday night. He is a comic book guru, and he is learning, and he sends me cool stuff. That's the thing about, when you have friends that are into collectibles but aren't into the same collectibles you are, then they find really cool Picard things and they send them to you in the mail as surprise little presents.
Awesome. So you're a big Picard fan.
I am a big Star Trek fan. Enterprise is my show. Picard was a little disappointing. Yeah. Like I said, I'm not happy with what they did with Q. Strange New Worlds really grabbed me.
I love John Delancey so much, and that's my favorite guy. Is Q,
yeah.
and I don't know what the hell what did he disappear? Or what's happening with him?
Well, he said he was going to die. He claimed that sending them back to their proper time was going to kill him. But then Rios said he wasn't going to go. So Rios is like, well, maybe he'll save up a little energy. But then he brought Eleanor back for Rafi. So we don't know. We didn't see a body.
Yeah.
And to quote Connor Trenier, who's very fond of saying this, nobody ever really dies in science fiction.
That's true.
So
I'm very happy with the show stuff. I'll tell you, I've been waiting for an episodic show for a long, long time, just like TOS. That's what I want. I want the alien of the week. I really do.
War Dog said the same thing.
Yeah.
Yep.
Because I didn't like the whole red angel deal that they did with Discovery. I mean, I thought it was boring. I did.
Right.
And because now it's back to me. It's back to the roots of TOS. This show, Strange New Worlds.
I love Faith. She is diehard. Q is coming back. We'll see. I do love John Delancey. I've met John Delancey a couple times.
He's actually great.
He was on my soap before he was ever on TNG. So the minute I saw him on TNG, I went, I know you in Days of Our Lives. But yeah, Q's better. I like Q as a better character.
I love Q.
Yeah, I think to War Dog's point, yes, I am getting really tired of the season arc thing, which one of the things that really bugs me is everybody was so pissed off at Enterprise for doing a story arc for the entire third season, that whole Xindi War thing, which I enjoyed. And now Discovery's done it and Picard's done it. And it's like, see, you guys were all bitching back in the early 2000s, but now it's the thing. And I don't mind it so much, but I'm excited to get back to the episodic because like War Dog said, just because it's episodic doesn't mean you can't have the characters develop from one episode to the next. You don't have to have a storyline that runs through the entire season for characters to have growth. So it's going to be, I'm very excited to see where this goes. I think Anson Mount is definitely carrying the mantle that your dad.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I couldn't be happier. I got to tell you, though, I also thought that Bruce Greenwood was great, too.
Yeah.
Each of these guys, Anson and Bruce, aren't Jeff Hutter. They're not trying to be, which I really like. I told him, I said, you're not going to be dad, but if you understand the character, and they did, they understand in their own way, and that was so great about it. I thought Bruce did a wonderful job as Pike because Pike is serious and he's got to mentor and he's got to keep Kirk in line and all that. And Anson is great as Pike because he understands the character.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, you can study, and I mean, I've said this. This is one of the reasons. Lasso, I hope you're still out there. One of the first times, the last one I ever saw each other in person, we had this debate. When you take over a character like Anson has done, taking over Pike, okay, you can go a couple of different ways. And the reason I can't stand Brandon Roush as Superman in Superman Returns is because he tried to be Christopher Reeve. He was terrible because he tried to be Christopher Reeve. If you look at all the guys that have played Batman, none of them have ever tried to emulate each other. They've all been like, okay, I'm Batman. I'm Batman now, and this is what Batman is to me, and this is how I interpret the character. So I loved Henry Cavill as Superman. I thought he was great. And one of the things that he never tried to be anybody but his interpretation. I swear to God, if you watch Superman Returns, which I absolutely do not recommend, it's a terrible movie, but it looks like somebody sat Brandon down, taped his eyes open, and made him watch all 4 Christopher Reeve movies. He tried to talk like him. It was bad enough that they rehashed lines from the original movies, but he tried to talk like him. He tried to act like him. And I'm like, no, if you're going to be Superman, be Superman. There was a lot of other things wrong with that movie, but the biggest problem I had with it was that he tried to be Chris. And Christopher, the other thing which was really insulting was Christopher Reeve had already passed away, which really pissed me off. Yeah. But Bruce and Anson, they all get it. Captain Pike is a specific type of person, but how you interpret that type of person is on each individual actor.
Exactly. I totally agree.
So I think Anson's done a great job. Somebody asked about his salt and pepper hair. I think it was last week, or whether or not he's made it more salt for the role. I don't know. I don't
Graded out, you mean? Yeah.
Yeah.
I
Yeah, I
kind
don't
of
know.
felt that too in a way.
Yeah, I don't know.
He's really got almost white hair now,
Yeah, and that could just be him. I mean, COVID's been hard on all of us.
No, I think it is. Dad was
Right.
prematurely great too, but you didn't see that in the. See, Pike is 37, I believe, or 38, something like that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. I mean, and some people do go. I mean, I was going. Little secret. I was going gray in my 20s. So yeah, no, I get that.
Really?
So
Cool.
yeah. Oh yeah.
I'm going gray too.
Yeah. I mean, I started going gray in college. So yeah. So I mean, it is what it is. If they didn't like it, they would have colored it. But I think he looks very distinguished.
Yeah, I do too.
And I think it's going to be great. I think Ethan Peck is a fantastic Spock.
Oh, I do too. I think everybody's great on that show. I really want to see. I've seen that short. Did you see the short of Rebecca Romaine? When she's with
when they're singing, "I am the model of a modern." Yeah.
Well, no, she was talking and she's explaining something to somebody. They showed these shorts in Discovery.
Yeah, no, they sang. They did. They were on the turbo lift together. They sang. Yep, I did see that.
Yeah. So I'm just excited for her.
Yeah. See, look at this. All these prematurely gray people. So, and yes, definitely stress. Stress will do it. Stress, yes. But that's also why they invented hair dye. That's
true. Clairol. I don't know.
Just saying, just for men. Just for men. But no, I think we're all really looking forward to seeing where Anson takes this.
I just want hair, I don't care what color it is. I just want some. Please send your hair to me. Yeah.
There you go. I mentioned this on the show last week because I was talking about Captain Pike across Star Trek, like all the different versions. Your dad, wasn't he asked to be in the wheelchair for the menagerie? And or they wanted to, but he was in Europe?
Yeah, he was in Europe making a movie.
So
yeah, he was asked. Yeah.
That's what I thought. Yeah, see, so Sean Kent, you know what? It's up. There you go. One of your friends just popped in.
Oh, hi, Lee. Yeah, Lee, my very good friend, Lee Dacus.
Hi, Lee. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks, Lee. She's a very good friend of mine.
Oh, well, thanks for joining us. I love that.
One of my best friends, Lee Dacus.
So honestly, William Shatner and Sean Kenny both owe your dad a big thank you, because if he had taken them up on the opportunity to reprise his role for the second pilot, or had been available to come back and be in the wheelchair, then neither one of them would have ever been in Star Trek.
No, but Sean's been in more episodes than that. I just got to meet Sean, by the way, and he's a wonderful, wonderful man. And when I was being interviewed for the Roddenberry Archives, which is a project by Mike Denise Akuda and also Doug Drexler and Rod Roddenberry, I think. So anyway, he's a wonderful man. And I said to Sean, I wish I had $1 for every time people have asked me, is dad in the wheelchair? But Sean was what they call, I think, a utility. He's a go-to guy in Star Trek. If they needed something special, they'd ask Sean Kenny.
Right. And they need somebody to, I can't even imagine how cramped and hot that would have been for him to sit in that chair.
Oh, yeah. With that makeup? Yeah. Yep. And have you seen the picture of Anson burned up in the wheelchair?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I mean, it's
a heavy makeup.
It's a perfect recreation of what they did for the menagerie.
Right, exactly. Yeah.
So
I got to meet I just gonna say I got to meet Sandy Gimple, who's the last surviving member of cast member of The Cage. Last survivor.
She was a Telosian.
Yeah, she was a Telosian.
And she also played the salt monster in Man Trap.
That's right. She's been in a lot of things.
That's what I knew the name of. Yay me.
Yeah. Man Trap? Was that
Man Trap is the name of the salt monster episode.
Yeah. She's great. They have that. James Cawley's got that costume over in Ticonderoga at Star Trek tours. Oh yeah, it's wonderful. Everybody should go to that Star
Oh,
Trek tour.
absolutely. If you can make
Everybody
it up
should go. Yeah.
They just had to, unfortunately, they just canceled their May event, but I think it was this weekend and they just canceled it.
Oh, really?
Last week it was supposed to be Takei and Koenig. They've got 2 Shatner events coming up, and they have their annual Trek Conderoga, which anybody that isn't going to Las Vegas, and the reason I say this is unfortunate. I guess I will say unfortunately. Trek Conderoga is the 3rd weekend of August every year, which is fine because Vegas is done. Vegas is over because it's always the first weekend. Mm-hmm. Unfortunately, this year it's reversed, and Trek Conderoga, because Vegas is later, Trek Conderoga comes right before Vegas. So I have a feeling they're going to lose out because a lot of people are going to be saving their pennies to go to Vegas instead of traveling up to Ticonderoga and then turning around and going to Vegas. I don't see that happening for a lot of people.
Okay.
So, but yeah, that puts Trek Conderoga, I think it's the weekend of the 19th, 20th, and 21st of August. And then Star Trek Las Vegas starts on the 25th, which is Thursday. It's only a 4-day event this year instead of 5.
Okay. All right.
So, but anybody that's not going to Vegas, or if you want to do both, there is nothing wrong with doing both. It's just a lot of traveling in a short amount of time. Ticonderoga is beautiful in the summer.
Oh, yeah, it's gorgeous. Yeah.
And it's a lot of fun. The set is gorgeous. He's working really hard on getting the Enterprise D up and running. If you follow them on the socials, you will see how their bridge is coming along. It looks amazing. They've already gotten those railings, those arced railings behind the captain's station in place. I think the captain's chair was coming along, was the last picture I saw.
They put so much effort into that stuff that they do. It's unbelievable, the love that goes into that. Mm-hmm. If they're off a millimeter, he told me, James Cawley, who owns it, told me, he said they were off a millimeter and they rebuilt the whole thing.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And if you happen to be an Elvis fan, James's actual profession is as an Elvis impersonator. Actually, he told me, we discussed the difference between impersonator or something else, and now I can't remember what the other word was. And James always, at Trek Conderoga, he always puts on a Saturday night concert.
Yeah, he's great. And it's really good.
Oh, it is. JG Hertzler went. The last time I was up there, JG and his girlfriend Michelle went, and they said it was fabulous.
Yeah. Yeah, you liked Trek. When you were there, I was lecturing. They showed the cage, and I just gave a little talk afterward.
Yep. I've been twice. Yeah. I've been twice. I wouldn't mind going again. It's just like I said this year. It's all about Vegas for me. I'm not going to be able to do both, unfortunately. Yeah. It's over. I think it's more than a 5-hour drive for me to get from here to Ticonderoga. If you happen to live in New York City, hey Pam, thank you. That's what he is. He is an Elvis tribute artist. Thank you very much. I knew it was something besides impersonator.
Hi, Pammy.
Thanks, Pam, for that.
I have to say hi to my girlfriend, Pam. Hi, Pam.
If you live anywhere in New York City, there is a train that goes up to Ticonderoga, and I think they have 3 taxi cabs that will take you from the train station into town. But like I said, it's an incredible experience. The bridge is amazing. The tour guides are awesome. Sometimes, depending on who's up there, if you go on a Shatner weekend and you've got a little extra money in your pocket, Shatner will give you the tour of the set. Plus, I mean, how iconic would it be to get pictures with Shatner?
He's very accessible. He loves
it up there.
Loves it. He is so happy at sitting in that captain's chair. He just is like, in heaven.
Yeah.
Hi, beautiful Pam McFerrin. Most beautiful. She's the most beautiful Trekker ever lived. Yeah.
Aww.
Yeah.
Oh, that's so sweet. So it's definitely an experience. It's definitely worth it. There's 1 bar in the entire town. So if you hang out there long enough, yes, you will probably run into some of the guests. and they closed the bakery, so I don't know where else there is to hang out besides.
Hey, also, guys, it's also Fort Ticonderoga, which is a big thing in the Revolutionary War.
Yeah.
And if you go to it, you will feel like you're in the Revolutionary War because you're looking at that river, whatever that river is, where I don't know if Washington crossed it or not, but it's one of those rivers.
History's not one of my things.
Well, yeah. Well, this guy was telling me about Ethan Allen and the Green Mountain Boys and the big battle and everything and how he hid in the trees, and you really feel like you're in the Revolutionary War. It's just awesome.
Yeah, so it's definitely something to do. It's a fun weekend to get away for the summer. And if you don't book your rooms far enough in advance, you end up staying in Vermont, because that's what I did the first year we went up there. We ended up staying in Vermont. Anyway, Chris, thank you so much for joining me.
You are so welcome. I've always loved Stephanie.
Oh,
Stephanie is my favorite.
Thank you so much.
I love being here.
I love that, Chris. Thanks so much. And maybe we'll even be able to do this again soon.
I hope so.
All right, Chris, thank you so much. Have a good night, everybody. As always, you will find me here next week. And until then, please make sure you live long and prosper.
Hey, this is Connor Turner. You've been listening to the NX7062 podcast with Stephanie. Enjoy your evening.